So I was asking friends and family members, what would you ask Jason? I'm sitting down to do an interview with him today, and one of the questions that came up, did your mom ever give you singing lessons?
No.
Why so emphatic?
Well, it's just because no. My mother never took singing lessons, so she couldn't give them.
I'm not a singer. My mother's never asked me to sing.
I think my mother did want me to sing, but I was too shy.
So your mother, you think, wanted you to sing as a child?
I think she was curious to see if I could sing. I think she was curious to see if I had a good voice, but I was too insecure and shy about it.
Obviously, she's a legend. She's incredibly talented, had an incredible career, a trailblazer. Give me and other people a sense of the pressure of having a legend.
Well, I think that's why I was very reticent to be musical, because she set the bar pretty high. I mean, I can't live up to that.
I mean, because everything that you do will always be compared to...
I have no control over what people think. I don't want to be compared, but I have no control over it.
Here you are, you're a young kid. How did you process that? I mean, how do you make sense of that?
Weird for a child.
Was it ever put into context? Or maybe it was just your life, so you didn't know any different.
My parents were in the spotlight. I didn't want that. And I think my way of dealing with it was sort of to retreat, to sort of hide. I'm innately a creative person, and I love music and I love film, but the public part of it wasn't something that appealed to me.
Even though you shunned publicity, you did, however, decide to do a tour with your mother around the world. You got on stage at the Hollywood Bowl. How did that come about?
I didn't seek it. It wasn't something I planned on or wanted to do. I was exploring my own musicality because it was something I'd actually stuffed away. I wasn't sure if I was a good singer. I didn't know, but I wanted to explore my voice in my songwriting. So I started to do that just for myself. And I had shared the first song I recorded, the cover of a song called How Deep Is the Ocean? And it was terrifying for me to share that with my mother, but she was sort of, I think, blown away and said, I want to sing this with you as a duet. I was like, really? And then she decided to do a tour and asked me if I would sing it with her as part of the tour.
How much do I love you? I'll tell you no lie.
I said yes because it seemed like an opportunity to grow, to walk through what scared me.
How high is the sky?
The idea of singing, which is a very vulnerable thing to do, in front of thousands of people was such a challenge for me. I didn't know if I could do that because it wasn't something I was seeking. So I would have to meditate and pray before I would go out on the stage.
How much would I cry?
I really looked at it as being a vessel for this music and being of service to my mother and having that lovely moment with her.
How high is the sky?
I don't imagine I'm going to have that experience, certainly singing my mother at the Hollywood Bowl. You said it's an intimate experience, so just give me an insight into what that's like.
You have to be very connected with someone, but just as you and I are having a conversation now, there's an intimacy, right?
To be where you are.
It's the same thing.
How far is the journey from here to a star?
Because you are dependent upon each other to sing at the right times, to hit the right note. It's a level of trust, because if one person goes off, then it affects the other person.
How deep is the ocean?
You also did a movie at the beginning of your career. The movie was called The Prince of Tides, and in that movie, you played your mother's son. How did that come about? And again, What was that experience like?
Well,
were you
it
just
perfect
handed the role?
casting. I had auditioned for it on tape. Sometimes my mother would have readings of her films, and sometimes she asked me to, read a part. I thought I could bring some reality to it. And I also didn't know what the experience of working with my mother would be like. I had always seen my mother working, but I had never worked with her. So I think that was an experience I was interested in having.
You talked about Quincy Jones earlier. Tell me how that came about. How did you start working with him? Another legend.
Again, it happened.
Another legend that you weren't even looking to work with.
Someday, when I'm awfully low.
It was at my mother's birthday, and I wanted to do something personal and special for her birthday. So I created this film. It was a montage of pictures of us from the beginning. And I thought about writing an original piece of music to go with it, but I was at the time working on Nature Boy, and it seemed sort of perfect. So I made this video. It got shown in front of Quincy Jones, and he came up to me and he said, "We're going to make an album together." And I said, "We are?" I couldn't believe that Quincy wanted to work with me. I mean, yeah.
Like a breath.
What was that experience like? What did you learn?
One of the things I respect so much about him is that he knows it's not about him, that the music comes from the great beyond, whatever you want to call it, and to honor that, to really be humble in the presence of the song or whatever it is and allow it to come through you.
I will lay me down.
Let's talk about the songs in this album. One of the first songs I heard was your interpretation of a Billy Joel song.
I would only dare to approach a song that other people have covered if I thought I could do something different with it. Not necessarily better, but just a different take on it.
So I would choose to be with you. That's if the choice were mine to make.
Stefan and I did a whole kind of lush, different arrangement to it. It wasn't about trying to do what Billy Joel did. I can never do what Billy Joel did.
That song was the first time you and I got to collaborate creatively.
Yeah.
And
It was the first time I ever made a video for any music I ever.
what made you say, I'm going to do a video?
Because we were in lockdown in a pandemic, and I thought this is a great opportunity to do something creative.
You didn't want to be in that video. I sort of twisted your arm to be in it.
Yeah, I wanted to be in it as little as possible. One of the first acting jobs I ever had, I went to like a screening of the movie. When I came on the screen, I was just like, oh my God. I was horrified. I think I've gotten better though. I'm not as harsh on myself as I used to be.
The song Dark Gray Skies is about loss.
It is a subject, I think, that recurs in some of the songs I have written and chosen to sing.
Dark gray skies, bloodshot eyes.
Well, as your friend, nobody else has ever said this to me. You say, do you think about death? And I say, Jason, absolutely not. I try to avoid it at any cost.
It is the one thing in life that we all have to face, our own mortality. I love to talk about that stuff. To me, that's as real as it gets. This is temporary to have a body. And it puts everything into perspective. In other words, what's really important in life, because there's no guarantee that any of us are going to be here tomorrow. If that is true, how do you want to live the rest of your life? We all are going to leave our bodies. There's a great quote, don't die with your music still in you. I don't want to be that person that comes to the end of my life and didn't explore this part of me because I was afraid to. My thinking is when I get there, I want to do it from a place of gratitude and peace and acceptance and curiosity, because I don't know what's on the other side. Wouldn't you rather approach that with those qualities as opposed to fear or regret?
No one's